CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy. This series on social movements in Africa was shot at the margins of the third Baraza in Accra. The Baraza is a product of the Zimbabwe Alliance, a project that the Conversations on African Philanthropy covered at the end of 2024. Social movements play huge roles in our society. At the same time, they face massive challenges and obstacles. In this series, we take a look at the different manifestations and typologies of social movements on the continent. The series is but a snapshot. More is needed to fully get a comprehensive grasp of social movements. Join us as we talk to actors from the DRC to Zambia, Malawi, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Ghana, and many more.
Welcome to another episode of our Conversations on African Philanthropy with me, Moyo. I'm happy to record this episode at the margins of the Baraza, the third Baraza that is convened by TrustAfrica and its partners here in Accra, Ghana. I'm very excited this morning to be joined by Dirk Shaka, who is a social activist, a researcher, but also working with Lucha in the DRC. Dirk, welcome to the Conversations.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you so much. And as we discussed, feel free to express yourself in English and Français. So, comment vas-tu?
Je vais très bien, merci.
Oui, ça va. So, I wanted us to talk a bit about Lucha. Mm-hmm. For those that don't know what Lucha is, what Lucha does, maybe you can take a few minutes to talk about the emergence of Lucha, the work that it does. Maybe where possible, you can also talk about some of its successes and challenges.
Thank you so much for the invitation and for this opportunity. So Lucha is a social movement, is a citizen movement based in DRC, which was created in 2012 in Goma by citizens, by students at that moment, who were just trying to become more involved in different questions about the change in the society, trying to push for more democracy, for more accountability of governor and other politician actors, but also were really faced war. You know, in DRC since 30 years now, each part of DRC especially are really involved in different war, especially coming from Rwanda, which is our neighbor country. So those students try to think about how to get people, citizens, and especially youth, get more involved in those questions, how those citizens and youth especially could be more interested in their own opinion, how to share their own opinion about war, how to share their own opinion about what was going on around the country. And at that moment, it was really not really something really common to see youth be engaged, because we used to have that, I can say, normal civil societies. And those civil societies seems to be more conformist and more bureaucratic, and those who decided to create something not really bureaucratic but more involved in demonstration and asking more solutions to their problems. So at that moment in 2012 there were a government in DRC which was I can say directly controlled by Kabila, and the civic space were really I can say controlled, and those youth began some demonstration and asking people and youth to join them, so as to ask more freedom, more spaces, and more accountability from different their own leaders. And after that, 3 years after that, 3 years after that, they have to organize a meeting in Kinshasa, so as to connect other youth around the country. And at that moment, especially, they was repressed by the regime. They were being arrested, and some of those young coming from Burkina Faso, Yanamar, came to that meeting and were also arrested, and some other people coming from Senegal. And those people were just released, but those comrades from DRC stayed in prison.
Yeah.
At that moment, I was also activist in other organizations. And then I tried to get involved in that, so as to ask liberation of our comrades from Lucha, and at that moment I joined Lucha. And after that we worked on spreading the movement through all the DRC, also to focus on democracy, on keeping democracy, organizing election as the formal government trying to change constitution so as to keep the formal president on the power. And so we began different activities, campaign, demonstration, and making many activities. And also we succeeded to make kind of network in Africa, so as other continent and other civil organizations were really connected to that reality.
Yeah.
And it allowed us to have an election in 2019. And at that moment, unfortunately, it was not fair and really transparent election. And after that, the former president, we had a new president who is actually on power, but it wasn't fair because it was not the real one, the one who win exactly, who were appointed as president.
Yeah.
So Lucha still involved in that civic engagement and civic also education, so as to make people more aware and then also men involved in all this question about accountability, peace, but also governance actually. And I can say the main success of Lucha were to make people awake and make them understand that they can change things without having especially a statue of politician. You can be a citizen, express yourself, fight for your right, fight for some principles, and you can achieve some success.
Yeah.
But at the same moment, I can say that we didn't anticipate how things could go wrong, because we didn't have the change we needed really, and we still working on how to achieve more change. And at that level, I think that we have to strategize in different way, so as to engage on the real change, political change, but also governance change, and the different also situation come on the ground actually with war again, and that is a very, very difficult situation actually. Yes.
So you and I just came out of a session.
Yes.
Which was looking at, we could say, social movements and politics. And if you were to look back in the DRC, but also Africa globally, if you want, what would you say is the current relationship between social movements and the state?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. We are thinking about that question since almost 2 years. And personally, I'm now involved in an organization we call Husika. Husika is Get Involved in Swahili.
Okay.
And this organization, we're trying especially to connect those activists and social leaders who really are involved in trying to get change in their society, to be prepared to change. I think most of the time, activists and social leaders who are leading different contestation, but also leading different campaign for democracy, for human rights, many times people are not really prepared to how to be part of the solution. I can say in the radical way. Why? Because there is kind of separation between to be an activist and to be a politician.
Yeah.
And many times politicians tell you that you are activists, you are not involved in
politics,
in political decisions.
Yeah.
And at the same moment, activists also seems to be out of the system and feel that they have only the right to contest and to express their needs, but not to have the power to change things.
Yeah.
And I think at that moment exactly that people should be more prepared. activists, social activists, change makers should be able to have the capacity to take the position of leadership. But the process of getting that to that position, that is the question. If you are able to fight for a free election that allows to civil society and activists to be part of the process of election, to be elected and try to change things on the position of leadership. But in our country, where you don't have those fair and free elections, civil society activists should really involve in civic and political education. Because when we have, I can say, a certain number of people who understand their rights, who are able to define clearly how they want to be involved in those change, so you become really powerful, and you are able to change the narrative of election and how you can accept or not the issue of election. Because in our countries, especially, you can have election, but that is not means that you have the real person who get the power. So we need also to be able to protect the result of the election, so as we can be able to change we can shift the power, the balance of power. So as to put the balance of power to the population, because they can elect people and have the guarantee that the people they have elected have been putting on power. And at the same moment, they can also contest if the election is not really free and fair. So to build that capacity needs a lot of resources, a lot of engagement from social movement, but also activists in different countries.
But at the same time, when there's so much demanded or required from social movements themselves face a lot of challenges. What are those peculiar challenges to the DRC context and social movements?
Yes, so actually on DRC, for example, social movements are confronted on problem of renewing people, you have kind of generation of people who really pushed, really active, but at the same moment you need to have kind of new one who are getting in and getting to reinforce that mobilization. But because of some of, I can say, disillusion of what result we get, people feel actually that there is no need to be part of those social movements because they are not achieving the need or the objective they have. But at the same moment, they know that in political party or in political organization, there is no really accountability to the citizens. And at this moment particularly, I think that we have to build that confidence. We have to work, I can say, in, how can I call it in English, in social basis, to reconnect our reality to the social movement, to reinforce that capacity of people to organize themselves and to be part of the process of change. At the same moment, to take care of the needs of people, take care of their aspiration, trying to change this in the narrative of change, of governance change, of leadership change, to make people be prepared to respect people, to respect their electors, to respect the institutions, to respect the constitutions, to be more legalist. And that could help people to see that in social movement, it's also a process to be part of the change in our countries.
So yesterday, one of the presentations focused on the trends, but also the challenges facing social movements. One of them was funding. The other was, the fragmentation between the base and the social movement themselves. What would be some of the current challenges that you as a social movement and many others in DRC actually face?
The main, I can say, actually, problem, especially on fundraising, I think that we have to design the process which allow us to be more independent on our way of getting found, but how to get also resources in the local level.
Yeah.
And I think that, for example, we can have different actors, social actors, who could be really interested to understand better how activism and social movement can be part of to resolve some local issues,
Yeah.
Without getting on the global issues or national issues, it's also important to define some specific targets, which has really basic targets. When social movement, when they are involved in those situations, they can gain and they can have some positive result, and change the basic problem of people. If we are able to build that confidence between those people and the way that we try to give them, to bring to them some solution to their own problem, they can be part of the solution of getting some support. They can also decide to support in different way the work or the struggle we are doing.
Yeah.
At the same moment, in DRC, for example, the global security issues is a big problem. When we have, for example, some situation of war, that is really a barrier on every initiative you can have, because at the other level, the government considers that any opposition and any contestation is a way of supporting rebellion. At the same moment, the rebellion doesn't give you space to express yourself. And you can see it especially in the east part of DRC. Our citizen movements, Lucha and Filimbi and other social movements, are not allowed to express themselves in those area. At that moment also in Kinshasa, we are really more involved in the question of governance, struggle against corruption. I'm the coordinator of the platform of civil society organization we call SANPAV, is Congo is not to sell. And that organization is involved in analysis and produce denunciations about corruption. And you can see that actually in our country, in the government part, the part which is controlled by government, you can feel and see how the corruption and bad governance is really embedded in the way of the act. And with that, there is no way of changing things without justice. And if we are not able also to engage justice so as to resolve all those kind of situations, that situation become really worse. And then from my side, I think that we need to really engage on how to change leadership. But at the same moment, we need to engage on how getting more people involved in the struggle, so as we can define the new rule of getting the power and the new rule of staying on power.
So maybe if somebody were to walk into our conversation and hear that we're talking about DRC and social movements, one of the questions will be, what are the current key issues that social movements are working on? So one of them is leadership, but what are the others? I mean, somebody might think there's a war in the north in Goma. Are social movements part of that fight to reclaim that, and many other social justice issues? But if we were to choose a couple of them and say these are the key issues that we are focusing on.
Yes, I see the key issues is training, political education for people. The second key issues is to create a narrative of change, which allows people to have a confidence on social engagement, but also civic engagement as a tool to achieve the global change. The third key is to work on peace building and reparation. Peace building because citizens are the people who are most affected by the war, and they know also what is the solution to the war. But many times politicians don't care about their opinion. So civil society and social movement is to raise and also to build the common understanding of the way to peace, and to try to push for different parts of the war to sit together and find the best way of achieving that peace. At the third level, also, I think that the problem of economical problem of DRC is the base of different crises we have in our country, because there is many foreign exploitation of resources in DRC, which is not benefit to the population. So we have also to think about how to be more involved in those economical topics, because as civil society we have to think about the challenge of economy, and to have also our own proposition and thinking about how to resolve the problem of economical governance.
I must commend you and the organizing committee for the brilliant program that you have produced for this current Baraza.
Thank you so much.
It's second day. Do you think you are achieving the objectives that you set out to do as a planning committee, more in particular for yourself, representing some of the social movements from the DRC?
Yes, I'm totally, I can say, happy for the process we are in, and how we have just beginning these discussions. Yesterday we have a very, very interesting discussion about fundraising. We have discussion about solidarity. We have also discussion about reparations, but also the movement achievement, the change for movement, the achievement of change for different social movements. And we can see that we had this very interesting opinion from different actors, and that leads to common understanding of the different problem we have to face. And at that moment, we are discussing also about politics and social movements. We see that there is many, I can say, information we are getting. And I wish that when we have the next session on different group thinking about those different topics, we can have at the end, I can say, basically different I can say option we can work on as social movement in Africa. And if we have kind of common understanding, and we have the way on how we want to address those problems, so that can allow people to connect and to be part of the solution on different topics as we are discussing about. And I think that having that diversity and also representation from different countries of Africa is really an opportunity we can't miss, so as to address different issues.
I'm hoping we are going to see you again at our African Philanthropy Conference in Egypt. Hopefully you will come through, and thank you for coming last year to attend the conference as well. So thank you so much for taking the time and talking to us on the sidelines of the Baraza. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So that was Dirk Shaka from the DRC, working with the Lucha and many other social movement forces in the DRC. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Thank you so much, Prof.
You've been listening to the CAPSI podcast series, Conversations on African Philanthropy.